So the way I discovered you was talking with Jerry, and
Okay.
seeing you, I saw that you have a pit bull, Gigi.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So the first question is how you got Gigi.
I was actually so I had a senior dog at the time. His name was King. And I knew I had to make a decision. Was I gonna because he was getting older, did I want a transition dog or not? Um, did I want to take a break? And I was like, no, I want to rescue a dog, and I wanted to rescue a pit bull. Been around pit bulls my whole life, but never really gotten to take care of one of myself. I was always the roommates, neighbors, or something. So I was at the Humane Society when somebody reached out and was like, there's this guy on Craigslist who has female pit bulls that nobody wants or he can't sell or whatever. And I was like, I'll definitely drive out there. It's about 30 minutes away from where I live, but I was like, I'll definitely make that drive because I don't want her or this dog to end up somewhere, or not safe. So I was like, let me ride out there. So yeah, I went to a backyard breeder and I got Gigi.
And you mentioned King. Was he a pit bull as well?
No, he was a lab golden mix.
Okay. And why you decided to adopt a pit bull? Why? What happened?
I love them. Well, the main reason why is because when I first moved to San Diego, and my older dog King, didn't like really any other dogs. He could be around dogs, but he just really wasn't like, I want to be friends with you. I lived with two pit bulls when I first moved to San Diego, and he loved one of them. And I'm just like, this is the very first dog that I've ever seen him cuddle with, lay with, play with, anything like that, and was friendly with. So I was like, in my head, I was like, when I get a dog for my for when King is still here, it's gonna be a pit bull. So that's why I chose a pit bull because he loves the pit bull that he met.
I see. And have you always been a pit bull advocate?
I love dogs, and I think that's a great question to ask because in my mind, I just feel like I was a dog advocate, and I really didn't. I mean, you do know how much problems or issues pit bulls have taken because people have these bad views on it. For me, no, because like I was like they're a great dog. So I've always been like a dog advocate, whether it was a pit bull, Doberman, Rottweiler. I love Rottweilers as much as
Same.
I love pit bulls.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like to me, yes in a sense, but no in a sense because I just like I love all dogs and I understand that all dogs, even within the same breed, they're different. So but since I've gotten Gigi, absolutely. Now I am forefront. I am a pit bull advocate. I'm an ambassador. All of the above.
When you decided to start the Gigi's Instagram, was there a mission behind it, or you just wanted to start like hopping the trend? You know?
You know what? That's very. I love that you asked that question. When I first created her page, I was like, I'm just gonna make a page and just post pictures of my very cute puppy, and just her socializing with me and my older dog. And I'm not very big. I'm not a big fan of social media. I've gotten used to it. So the video where I posted of her going to the dog park and everybody avoiding her, I didn't think that was going to get any type of response. And then it just overnight put me in a position to be like, let's do this. People started reaching out and I was like, I'm okay with it.
And when they were reaching out, what were they asking?
The very first few questions were, can my dog and Gigi have a play date? Can they meet Gigi? And I'm not really huge on just, one-on-one play dates because I understand that dogs, they shouldn't be forced into friendships.
Yeah.
Um, but I was always cool with meeting other dogs, and then if Gigi was comfortable around them, it's kind of what you see me do in my meetups, but I just did it like one on one. Like I would sit them in a space, spaced out. And if she seemed like she was comfortable, then okay, then they can greet. Then they could play after a while. But after that, once they started seeing Gigi more often on social media, they reached out and was like, "Hey, did you ever think about doing a meetup, pack walks?" And for me, like I told you earlier, I love dogs. So I'm like, I'm always gonna be a dog advocate. I'm always gonna be around other dogs. But I wanted to do it right. And that's where Jerry comes in. That's where my other friend Abir comes in. I wanted to reach out to people that, I know dogs, but I don't know dogs like that. I wanted to make sure the dogs were safe. So I was like, what is the right way to go about doing this, doing that? And I would ask so many questions, which started the meetups.
And you have a big following. What do you think people see on your account that makes them follow you?
The relatable connection, honestly, and I think there's so many spaces I'm in, and I talk about it on my page. I don't know if you follow us. I talk about being a black man in a pit bull. There's so many different spaces I'm in. I have a pit bull, so that's a space, and what I have to go through having a pit bull. I'm a black man and dog community. There's a space, but I think the biggest space people are seeing is me not conforming to society's like pressures of me having a pit bull, So it's like I didn't get a pit bull because I wanted to dress up. I didn't get a pit bull because I wanted to look mean, or I didn't want to get. I got a pit bull because I just love dogs, um, and I just was like I want to share with people how amazing these dogs are. A lot of people say. And I know I named her Sweetie, the page Sweetie Gigi. So it's just like, but I wanted people to see all sides of Gigi. And I think that's the biggest thing of what the page is getting the following for is that, I want to show her it's being a dog, and me as a human allowing her to be a dog and not, hiding behind a human ego and forcing her to be a dog that she doesn't want to be.
I see. Do you think people get pit bulls just for how they look?
I think so sometimes I do. And then this is something that I have discussions with people about like in person. There's so many different areas that pit bulls just get put in a box and it's not fair for them. It's the people who say, adopt, don't shop, but then they take this pit bull home and this pit bull doesn't, live up to their expectations, they return it, and then it's the people who go get pit bulls because they want to, make themselves look tough. Some people get pit bulls because, they're out of fear for themselves and they feel like the dog is a great protector for them. There's so many different things pit bulls get put into. And I think the reason why my page is so important because I wanted people to understand that a dog is a dog and you have to be willing, first of all, to do the research behind the dog and the breed and knowing what you're getting yourself into and just letting a dog be a dog and not making a dog what you want them to be. I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. Last week I talked to Jerry, and we were talking about how people get dogs just for the company, and they don't know into what they're getting into.
Exactly.
They don't know the responsibility about it. They don't know what they have to do to. Jerry said this, like, to satisfy their needs,
Right.
so they can become easy to manage.
I think that's the biggest thing I talk about the most now. If anybody comes to my events, is you have to know what stimulates your dog. You have to know what your dog wants to do. Like I tell people all the time, which I don't really get so many videos of that because we're just doing it. Like Gigi likes sniffing, finding things. I let her chase after squirrels safely. I have a long lead. I let her get that out of her system and I don't try to control it because when people try to control a dog, that's when the reactivity goes in a negative way.
Yeah,
But I love that Jerry said that because a lot of people do get dogs who, like, oh, I want a cuddle buddy, I want a best friend, I want somebody, stay on the couch with me at all times and
yeah,
Netflix and chill with me. And it's just like, look, man, your dog can do that. It's a possibility that your dog will watch TV with you. But you have to let your dog be a dog. And then, sometimes when people see their dog being a dog, they don't like it. And I
yeah.
think that's where the problem lies.
I agree. Would you say like the reputation that pit bulls have earned is because of unethical breeders or responsible owners?
I think both. I think that's what it's humans. Number one, I don't want to like. I think the labels and the titles of where people have the divide at. So I don't want to just say backyard breeders. I don't want to say people who rescue for no reason is humans. And that's where the reputation for pit bulls come into play because the way we position them and the way we mistreat them, or we're not informed enough to know, or we don't want to, or we don't put the effort in. So it's just like Yeah, you got the unethical breeders, and it's just a bad environment, but it's also a bad environment for the irresponsible owners. And nobody wants to take accountability on either side. So I'm that middleman that's just like, I'll say it for all of us, you know. And I say it on my page a lot too, where I myself have to catch myself in my human mindset and be like, whoa, she's just doing what a dog should do, and she's letting me know. So it's just like it's an everyday thing that we have to learn from.
Yeah, I do agree with that. One I think the most important thing you just said is people don't put that effort into doing the research. And
Right.
I think just people get a dog because they saw him on a movie that looked tough, or get
Exactly.
just because of companionship. And I think that's the biggest problem, especially during COVID, when people were like locked in and they just went out and got a puppy.
Yep. A lot of people got COVID puppies, man. A lot of people got comfort puppies. A lot of people got, it happens. And the thing about it is, whatever reason you got this dog, and that's why I tell most people that are in my community, like, do the work to keep the dog and protect the dog and love the dog right. Like, I don't. If you got it from a breeder, if you adopted it, I don't, none of that matters to me. It's how you love the dog moving forward. That's the most important. And that's why this page is most important to me, because I want people to see that it does take everyday work. And it does not really work because, like, I want to do it. And I think that's the part that people struggle with, is that they don't want to.
Yeah.
So, uh, the dog just becomes a dog in an environment that's not built for them to succeed, honestly.
And what people should know about having a pit bull?
I just think when it comes to a prey and a play drive, they have to understand what both of those mean. If they don't know what both of those mean, that's just the bare grounds, the bare minimum of knowing a pit bull or any dog. A prey and play drive. A prey drive is, we're talking about hunting, whether it's just them sniffing or them finding things. Play drive is strong, like they can go all day, their endurance. So it's just like the science behind every dog, not just the pit bull, but we're going to talk about pit bulls right now. You have to know your dog. Especially now that people come out to my events and they see all these different bully breeds, different type of pit bulls, different type of bullies. Gigi is someone who loves to have her sniff-a-thon and find the gophers and squirrels, and doesn't really do anything with them. Some dogs will, maybe if she ever gets triggered, she could. And that's people have to realize, is that a dog is still a predator. And I think in her play drive is, and she lets me know, she has a certain threshold. And they're always in that. They transition in and out of it. They engage, re-engage, disengage, and you have to know your dog in that threshold aspect of knowing what they're doing in that moment and their shake off and their transition. And so if you're not doing the research of knowing everything I just said,
Yeah.
um, you're not really building a good space for your dog. And I think that's, they give us the body language. If you got to do the research, you got to put the effort in to know that, and you got to pay attention to your dog more than anything. I think, you see it all the time, whether somebody's walking a dog or being in a public space with the dog when they're not really paying attention to the dog. And I think that's got to change for a lot of things. Like I go to coffee shops all the time with Gigi, but I'm not going to socialize with other people at these coffee shops. I'm going to socialize with Gigi while I'm drinking coffee, and I think that's the mindset. If you forget about your dog, or if your dog's just an add-on in this space, that's where like the danger comes in.
I see you're always present with Gigi.
Exactly.
And for example, if you go to a coffee shop with a friend, how do you manage the situation?
I always do check-ins, and I'm glad you asked this because one of my neighbors always watches Gigi, and she asked me what my social cues were with Gigi. So we do hello. Hello is like a re-engagement to make sure she knows like I'm in this space with her. It's not, I do it with a certain balanced tone, not really high pitch, not really low pitch. It's just say hello, and she'll turn around and look at me, and I'll either say thank you, good girl, one of those, and then that's when she knows that I'm acknowledging her in this space. And I probably do that every 5 to 10 minutes, or I'm just massaging her as I'm talking to my friend. Because like the moment they know that you're not present with them in that space, that's the moment when their curiosity gets the best of them,
I
and
see.
they're just like, yeah. So it's just like as long as I'm re-engaging, making sure I do the massage the back of her head, the cues. So it's just like having that rotation in between, and that presence within her that space allows her to stay that same, as Jerry says, managing that arousal, which is very true because the moment you disengage or you forget that she's in that space with you, her arousal is gonna get a
Mhm.
little crazy because there's so many
Yeah.
things going on in that space.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Dogs sometimes they just start l- locked in on something and you just lost.
Yeah, yep, you lost them. You lost them. In the dog community, they call it red line. Like once you, to that point to where you can't get them back. You don't ever want them to get to that point. But yeah, that's exactly what happens.
And like during the coffee shops, how did you socialize Gigi to be able to take her to coffee shops and not and have her be calm? Because I think that's what a lot of people struggle with, calming their
Yeah.
dogs. So yeah,
No, thank you for asking. I tell most people this. I start off just in public parks, not dog parks. I'm not a fan of dog parks. Just any public parks, main like busy cross streets in the city, different areas every day. We would just sit. We would go out on a 2 mile walk where we take about 10 or 15-minute breaks and just sit and watch people pass by, squirrels run by, whether it was a train, a bus, a lot of cars, and we would just do this. We did this every morning. We still do this every morning. And then once I left, I was just like, okay, she does pretty well with noise and distractions. I said, let's see how she does like in a coffee shop. But I didn't go to a coffee shop. We walked through one when she was younger, but we didn't start doing just sitting there probably until like 2 or 3 months after the public and sitting outside. And I think that's the biggest thing people, you even said it earlier, people see a dog on a show or a movie. People see Gigi on social media. It's like, I want to do that.
yeah,
Don't do that right away. Don't do that. Don't do it if your dog doesn't want to do it. Like if
yeah,
if it didn't stimulate Gigi to sit, I wouldn't do it. That's the biggest thing. Excuse me.
yeah. I do agree with that. I think people, I wouldn't say force their dog to do stuff they want to, but they try since they want the dog for company. They take them to every places without a proper socialization, and that's when things can get nasty.
Exactly. That's exactly when they get bad because I just want their dog to be a part of everything,
Yeah.
even if their dog doesn't want to be there.
What would you say to people that want to take their dog everywhere, but they didn't do the proper socialization like you did?
Don't do it. Number one. Don't do it until your dog like lets you know they're ready. And they'll let you know they're. I mean, I've said this so many times along this discussion we've had to where your dog will let you know. And if a dog guardian doesn't know what I mean by that, that means it's just they have to do more work.
More work, I see.
Their dog is talking to them so much through their body language each and every day. So it's just like when your dog can sit in public with you or a small space or being around friends, then they're kind of letting you know that like, okay, I can do this public thing. I can go to coffee shops. I can go to restaurants.
I see. And how many dogs have you have in your lifetime?
Oh, like as an adult or just like since I was a kid?
As when you start seeing that their presence meant something.
Oh, that was a great transition. Hmm, I would say that was probably like around 9 or 10 for me. So since 9 or 10, I probably have had four or five, four dogs, four dogs.
And from those four dogs, which one has had the biggest impact in your life?
It was King and Gigi. I would say they're a tie because without King, I would have zero knowledge that I have for Gigi. Gigi now is just she herself is not a challenge. The challenge is society with her. So it's two different challenges. With King, he's a lab, so I had a lot more freedom
Yes.
to do whatever I wanted to do. Like I could go to a park and do off leash training, and nobody's like running to get him out of the park.
Yeah.
I could do all these different training things. People felt comfortable, so I got to learn. And, in the very first few years I had King, I was very neglectful because I was very young, and I just thought dogs belonged in the backyard. I thought dogs belonged here. I didn't really think dogs, and I knew I could have a relationship with my dog because the one before him had a very strong relationship with him. But I was coming into the knowledge of it's like, oh, okay, I can learn so much from King. So like after that, our bond just continued to grow, and I did way more training I've ever done with any other dog I did with King on hikes. He really didn't have to be on a leash at all. So I think King had such a strong impact on me as a human from the human side, and now Gigi, I'm more involved in the science side of understanding like all dogs. So just like King was like the bond. Gigi now I'm seeing like so much more as an eye opener because it's not just me and her bond. I have to take so many steps carefully within society because like she's a pit bull.
Yeah. But it looks like Keen was the inspiration of everything you have right now.
Absolutely.
And you created the page thinking on Keen or no? Of the Instagram
I
page?
I
No.
I did, and that's what people. You're the first person who's asked me this question, so thank you. I did. I created this page because I was like, I want to show King's just last year socializing with this amazing dog, which is a pit bull. But it wasn't to me like I was gonna be like I'm gonna make it a big thing. It was me just wanting a page, so I just had memories to look back on, as he was getting older. So like people go back, they always ask about King, but if people follow me since day one, he was on the page a lot in the beginning because
I
like
see.
he was still alive. He was still alive. So yeah, it was really for King, and then for me to get to know Gigi. So it was just like, and then whenever he didn't like going out as much because he was getting older. That's when I was like, okay, I got to figure out a way to how to socialize her and get her out there. And that's when I went to a dog park, which was a terrible idea. And that's where everything started.
And how was Keen towards Gigi?
When she first got home, he was like, "What's happening?" But it was like a few weeks, and he was like, he if she wasn't awake when he woke up, he was looking for her. He let her lay on him, so it was like it was like almost a month of an adjustment for him. But then like he wouldn't want to walk without her,
I
so
see.
he's not always gonna be like super loving and super friendly. He'll just let you know how he feels by if he like looks for you or he'll like bring a toy to you. So he brought toys to her, so it was pretty cool to see.
That's really cool. That's cool how to see how a dog like rejects when a new dog comes to the house, but then like he warms up to it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's just like us humans, like we're a new human in our space. We're like, what's happening? And then, we just, we learn and we understand that, it's coming from a space of love and we learn to love them.
Were you worried that Ken wouldn't accept Gigi in a moment?
No, because he wasn't a reactive type of dog or anything. He just likes his space. So I knew if I honored his space, he'd be okay with anything. I knew if I built a space just for him and built a space just for her and acknowledged both of their spaces, like I knew he'd be okay. Because he moved around so much with me
Yeah.
that he's adapted so much. I just knew that like this would be easy for him to adapt him, but I still had to respect it. I couldn't just assume that he'd be okay with it. So I knew there was going to be work and effort and time and energy.
And when you got Gigi, how did you connect with Jerry? By your Instagram page, she found you, or
I think I found that's a great question. I feel like I have to ask her once I hop off her. I believe I found her. I believe somebody sent me her page, and I was like, yeah, I need to know her. I feel like, yeah, you have to ask her. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I feel like that's how it happened. I feel like I found her.
I see, I see. So with the pitbulls you have had, what have you learned from them?
everything, man. And that's it's crazy now because now we fast forward to almost a year later since I started these meetups, and and I've welcomed other ones in, but the pit bulls, just the bully breeds themselves, have so much knowledge, so much personality. I will say this. I will say this. That's what I told people. I've had many dogs in my life, very many different dogs. Pit bulls show the most emotion. Bully breeds show the most emotion out of any dog I've ever been around in my entire life. They are the most emotionally intelligent dogs I think I've met. They let you know through their facial expressions, through their body language, through their sounds, through everything, and they're just wanting you to pay attention because they're giving you the cues. And I have to say, they are the most emotional dogs I think I've ever met. And doing all my different meetups, I not one dog is similar to another dog, and there's over 200 dogs in this group now that I mean I can't remember all their names off the top of my head, but every single one that I've met in person so far, and I think I know I've met at least 100 now.
Yeah.
They're all different, and so I think that's the thing that every dog has so much to teach us, but pit bulls are just so much. They're so special, and I think that's what people need to realize is like the reactivity, the frustrations because they have so many emotions. And they're trying to deal with it. And they're trying to handle it. So it's just like then they put trust in humans that they shouldn't have put trust in. So it's a very frustrating process for them.
Yeah, I agree with that. So my next question is, what do we have to change the narrative of the pit bull? And the reason I'm asking this is because this is one of the main purpose I started this project. I mean, it's turned into a podcast at this point, but I like to call it a project. And what I set myself to is inform as much as I can and get as the most accurate information as I can. And I think one of the people that has best information are the actual owners and even some reputable breeders. So, in your opinion, as a pit bull owner, what do we have to do to change the narrative of the pit bull?
It's gonna take a while because there's so many that are still doing what was done in the past. Until we let go of the past, like mentally and physically, um, that's where it has to start. We still have breeders out there that are breeding them for looks, breeding them for like aggression. So it's hard to do it, and we see the ban that happened in the UK. We see
Yeah,
all these things happening, but what we're not seeing is the ban on backyard breeding, things like that. So the root of the problem is humans. Uh, Once we take accountability of that and not the dog, that's where it needs to start. But like I just said earlier, we're not just going to put on the backyard breeders. We're going to put on irresponsible dog owners too. As a whole, humans have to take accountability for their wrongdoing. And it's a very hard conversation to have people in my community, the people I have on my page, people I meet every day. These are things that we have to discuss if we want to move forward. Like we have to be able to call ourselves out as humans when we're doing like when we're not doing the right thing. And it's hard to explain to a lot of humans because we have ego, we have entitlement, we have privilege, and we in our mind are saying, "No, this dog should do this because I told it to do it." And that's where it starts. We have to understand that the dogs are a dog, they're a predator, and they're trusting us in this space. And as long as we show them love, Gigi's waking up from a nap, show them love and try to guide them in the way they want to be guided, that's what we have to do. And it's a hard thing. Is it doable? Yeah. Is it gonna happen soon? I wish it would because I feel bad for pit bulls. But it starts with accountability and stopping what needs to be stopped, banning what actually needs to be banned, which is the human process and the human acts, and not the dogs. The dogs. I mean, I've seen reactive dogs turn to lovable dogs, and vice versa. And it's humans. It's how we treat them in that space of what direction they go. And so I think that's the biggest thing.
yeah, I do agree that with. I mean, that's the hard part. Like people taking accountability of what they're doing because breeders just breed dogs to make a quick profit, you know. So that's,
Exactly.
and then I believe that's the hard part. How are you gonna convince someone to stop making money?
Right. They're not going to stop.
Yeah, that's yeah.
And yeah.
And also, I wanted to ask you about the UK ban. Do you think what they did was the correct thing at the moment, or do you think they had to find another way to handle the situation?
Oh man, I don't think what they did was right at all. They were looking for a shortcut for like a horrific situation. Um, we had something similar happen in Compton last week. I like I said, it's not, and I see that. I know it's the XL bully, so I know it's like the crossbreeding. Sometimes they breed pit bulls with cane corsos or mastiffs, so they get the bigger size,
Yeah,
and they're breeding these dogs to be aggressive, But then we also have friends in the UK that have the most lovable dog, and the process they're having to go through right now is miserable. I don't even want to imagine what that'd be like for Gigi. But we're not placing blame on the right space, which is like I say so many times, it's humans. Like I don't know how we're overlooking that continuously. It was very sad to see what happened in the UK, but it's not going to stop there. It's not going to stop at pit bulls. It's going to spill over to Rottweiler. It's going to spill over to Cane Corsos, and it's just like, and it's neither one of them.
yeah,
So I think that's the biggest thing. It's very sad to see. I think it's very irresponsible for us humans to continue to be like, it's the dog. They gotta be euthanized or they gotta do this, and it's just like it's easier to place blame elsewhere than to take accountability. I
yeah.
know it is.
I do agree with that. How much have you seen in look into the UK ban?
I know that they I know a little bit of information only because we have friends that I talk to every day from over there.
Yeah,
I know about the muzzle. I know about the spay and neuter. I know they tried to move some of them. I forgot where they moved them to try to be adopted. The ones they could save. It's an ongoing daily process for them, but for the ones who actually have the dogs and not the ones that are at the shelters, the process where they can't go to certain places, do certain things. Yeah, it's got to be hurtful because I mean, usually do go everywhere together.
you saw, and the reason I ask you this is because did you see that the government start like passing, I would say like an offer of if
Oh
you
yeah,
euthanize your dog, we're gonna pay you like 200, $400.
yeah, it's disgusting.
Yeah,
Like
that's
to promote that, to encourage that, to put money on it. How you said, who's going to turn down a profit? And I think that's disgusting to me that they made dog's death a profit.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I feel really bad for the UK. I can't, and I do talk to my friend. She's amazing. Her dog Doug is amazing. He actually, I follow him on Instagram. It's just sad to see not only for her to have to go through that, but watch what's happening all at the same time for the dogs that look like her dog, that are like her dog.
Yeah. How has her like routine or her daily routine changed because of it?
Well, she's amazing because she already started before the band came about. She kind of knew it was going to come.
I see.
So she was muzzle training before to get him used to it, to get him comfortable with it. She was taking him away to like vacation spots because she knew she liked. So she was already getting him in a routine of being used to not being able to go outside as often. And that goes back to what I said earlier. It's the effort and time, energy we put in. And she put in that effort. She knew she had to get him ready to before it had to happen.
Yeah.
When you go, you put a dog in a situation without getting them ready, prepping them for it. It can be very, very frustrating for them. So the fact that she took that time and energy to make it fun for him, a learning thing, and she put a lot of time in there. That's what we have to do. So just like to see their new life, it is very exhausting, and I just feel bad for them.
And how is she doing? Like, is she sad or?
It's off and on. It's a day-to-day thing. Like she's good days, bad days. But the biggest thing her concern is making sure like Doug is happy, as much as she can do that. So For us humans, like obviously she can still go outside, she can still walk, but like her best friend, his life has changed forever. So she's just doing her best to make him not like recognize that his life has changed, to make it
Yeah.
still like enjoyable for him.
And do you know how can they still like go out for walks in public spaces or
I don't think in all public spaces because she tried. Yeah, it's a whole thing. I don't want to like misspeak on it. I'd have to ask her for sure, but I do know that she takes the time to socialize as much as she can. I don't think they can go into all public spaces. I don't because like I know like she makes time for him to see like his friends and
yeah.
um. But yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I'll even put I don't even live in the UK, and there's just pit bulls even in San Diego. They're not banned, but they're definitely not accepted. They don't want to see pit bulls in certain areas, even out here. So it's like I can only imagine with the ban in the UK that she can't. There's no way. Yeah.
Yeah. In San Diego, how when you go with Gigi to certain places, have you have like an ugly encounter or
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I speak about all the time too on my page. Is like before her page blew up.
yeah.
Um, Nobody wanted us anywhere, and it's crazy because like I speak about that a lot. I was like, now that our paper's blowing up, people say, oh, like people love us, but like yeah, we got ugly looks. When we first started the meetups, we got tons of ugly looks. Now that we are kind of popular around San Diego and Los Angeles, like people like know us now and they don't mind it. But we still get certain comments. But yeah, no, they didn't want us in certain spaces, man. They didn't want like it was not a good. It wasn't a welcome party at all.
and before your page blew up, like did you had an encounter with someone saying why do you have a pit bull?
Yeah, I got told I look like a typical pit bull owner. I got asked like, why would you want that monster in your house? Like I got told that like she was a killer. They're dangerous. San Diego, we can't even have pit bulls in certain apartment buildings and like where we live. So it's just like and Los Angeles too, but they have like breed restrictions like who could live like where they could live. So yeah, it's a tough day-to-day thing. And I think like all the people that come to our community, they go through the similar things, that everything they get told, how people
Yeah.
talk to them, it's just like it's not fair.
And when someone like personally walk towards you, how do you manage the situation? Like how do you remain calm and stuff?
Um, First of all, I give it space. I give them a space 'cause I don't know what they're walking up toward me for. But I just realized that how I react, how I respond means everything. So that's how I keep calm. Because no matter if I'm right or wrong, I'm gonna be wrong. Because so it's just like I have to remain calm through the craziest comments and things, and just do our best to keep it positive and keep it light, and just keep educating people in the right way. Because a lot of people, which I do speak about, Gigi gets lunged at daily. Dogs try to bite her, little dogs, other dogs that are not pit bulls. And it's like I'm not gonna sit here and say like I dislike all little dogs. It's just like it's not the dog.
Yeah.
It's the human behind the dog that feels like their dog doesn't need to be uh bonded with or connected with on that level, and they just they have their dog 20 pounds, so their leash, they're letting their dogs go all over the place. I've had it's like a lot of situations already to where I had to step in between two dogs, because we were doing events and a dog was off leash and charged another dog, and I just stepped in between. So it's just like people feel like if they don't have a pit bull, they can just do whatever.
Ever. Yeah, I do agree with that. Especially like the mini poodles. Like
Yeah.
they the owners just don't care what they do.
It's tough. And we
Yeah.
got love for the little dogs too. It's just the humans. Like I was like, we love all dogs. Small, big, it's just and that's what we tell people. We're not gonna sit here and say a mini poodle or a Jack Russell is gonna be like a Malinois or a German Shepherd in training and bonding. But what
Yeah.
we're saying is that this dog still can be bonded with, though, where it respects other dog space and like human space. I think that's the biggest thing, is like bonding with your dog so they understand new spaces. I think that's like the biggest thing, biggest help you could be and support for your dog.
I agree with that. That's what you just said is very accurate. I think people just because they have a golden retriever, Labrador retriever, they think they don't have to follow certain rules. They think that
Right.
they can go say hi to everyone. But I think that's when you have to start teaching even more obedience and just teaching them their boundaries, that they're not allowed to go say hi whenever they want to. They're not allowed to go say hi to other dogs whenever they want to, because some dogs need their spaces, and I think people
Exactly.
have trouble understanding that not all dogs want to be friends.
Exactly. Agreed. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, that's why I tell everybody that comes to our events. This is not for your dog to have friends. This is so you and your dog can bond in a healthy environment and learn how to socialize. Like, if your dog wants to have friends, it'll let you know. But your main focus should not be coming into the bully breed bunch and being like, I want my dog to have friends because they're just like us. We don't want tons of friends. I mean, maybe some of us do, maybe some of us don't.
Yeah,
And some dogs are super like Gigi's best friend Noodles. She loves every dog that comes into her space. Noodles is the most like Noodles is a lovable dog. Gigi's not the same. Gigi has to know you for a little bit, has to trust you. But yeah, I tell everybody, don't rush your dog. You know, your dog is gonna let you know. Maybe your dog doesn't have any friends. Maybe you're your dog's only friend. Like that's okay, because that's what we're working on is the bond between you two. And as long as your dog feels safe, it can socialize around other dogs. And I feel like that's the biggest thing. People get dogs for their own selfish reasons.
so, yes, I agree. Quick question: obviously you spent tons of time with Gigi since she was a puppy, right?
Hmm.
Um, does she have separation anxiety?
Um, to an extent, but it's managed. It's like it's not bad. Yeah,
That
like I feel like that's. Of course, when I leave the house, she's like, "Where are you going?" And then 10 minutes later, she's asleep.
she's sleeping. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what. Yeah. So my question is, how do you prepare Gigi to be calm when you're not at home?
I think is you have started young. You have when I say young, I should say that differently. You have started when you first get your dog. That's how I rephrase it. Because people rescue, people adopt. Whenever you first bring your dog into this new environment, this new space, first of all, you bonded with this dog. So you made this dog feel comfortable with you in this new space. So obviously, it's always going to want you around because
Yeah.
it's a new space for them. So I was like, all right, what I need to do, because I have like I have a bedroom, a kitchen, and a bathroom. So what I'll do is I'll shut my living room's door for like when she was younger, 30 seconds to a minute while I was just literally putting socks and shoes on in my bedroom. And then I'd come back, say good girl, and then or I would do a 5 or 10 minute bathroom break, same thing. So it was the repetition and the consistency of doing smaller, separating situations, and then growing it into me leaving the house for like a coffee walk. I'll be gone for a half an hour. I lost a couple of Crocs in the process, a couple of shoes, a couple of Crocs. It's a part of the process.
Yeah.
And then I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to the gym now and see how she does. And so like every single time, it did, but it has to be an everyday thing. And then you also have to acknowledge them. When you come back in that space, thank you. It doesn't always have to be like a treat situation. It's an acknowledgement that she did a good job while I was gone, and then she learns that I'm not always gonna be here. So now, like if I'm gone for 4 hours, she's sleeping.
And does she get jealous when other dogs come toward you, or
Um, if I'm not near her, she's like, "What's happening?" But like if they're coming up and we're both, yeah, she's fine. But like say if my friend has her, I wouldn't say she gets jealous. She's just like curious, like, "Wait, why is he talking? I should be talking to this dog with him."
yeah, I see.
But she'll look over there, but she won't get like reactive or rowdy. She'll just like look over there. It's like, "What's happening?"
Yeah, and when you do that, like when you manage the groups, like the event groups, how does she behave?
So if it's a big group and I have somebody else to help me, she comes. If it's the smaller scale group, because I work with more reactive dogs, she's not there. She used to come in the beginning, but I saw that the certain events demand more of my attention, and I want to keep the dog safe and her safe.
I see.
So what we do, we get up really early in the morning. We go on a 3 4 mile hike. She gets all her sniffs in. She sleeps for like the next 5 or 6 hours. So those 5 or 6 hours, I'm doing my events. So she's sometimes there if it's a big pack walk and she sees me greeting people. She's used to that now.
Yeah.
It really wasn't her that I was concerned about or anything like that. It was just like me being present or the other humans and dogs in that space. So I was like, I don't. And the thing about it, there was several reasons why. First of all, Gigi's having to meet all these new dogs. That's not safe for anybody, like all at the same time, because I'm have to walk up to everybody. And secondly, she has a celebrity effect, so it's better for her not to be there for me to have it focus on what we're here to work on. So it's like it's good to sometimes not have Gigi because if Gigi's there, everybody's only focused on Gigi.
Yeah, that's funny. So I have two questions. First one is, during your events, what does the schedule look like? And the other question is nothing related to it. Is how the social media page has changed your life.
I like those questions. So the first question, we have a lot of different events. So the one that was our bread and butter, the one that got it going, is just our big pack walk to bring community to get together. And these are for people who already have that kind of a connection with their dog. They just want to bring their dogs around other like-minded human beings and like-minded dogs, and just like socialize by walking. And where we go to coffee shops sometimes, we just do hiking sometimes. So it's just like 10 to 20 dogs always show up to that one. It's a pretty dope one. The smaller scale one, we do bonding exercises. So this is a 5 to 10 dogs at the most. More of the reactive ones. I call them extra personality dogs because the reactive gets overused. I just like to say they have personality.
Yeah.
To where they're humans more concerned about the dog being in a space with other dogs and like whether it's barking, lunging. So we kind of show them that it's more about the bond between the human and the dog more than it is about the other dogs or the surroundings. And we do bonding exercises. We have them walk past each other, walk around each other, come in a circle. So it's more like intimate in that space with the human and the dog and what they get to learn from that. We also have the coffee events where we get to socialize in a coffee shop. If you want your dog to get used to that type of environment, we have breweries now. We have adoptable pack walks where people bring dogs from shelters that can be adopted. We hold adoption events. We have a lot. The one that demands the most of my attention would be the small scale one because I know that a lot of humans they just have anxiety and that's okay because we're human and I want them to realize like your dog feels that anxiety too, but it's okay. This space is to help you guys both build confidence together. And social media has completely changed my life. And what's crazy, people don't realize this. I'm an introvert. I'm an introvert. I'm only an extrovert when I talk about something I'm passionate about and around my family. That's the only time. But um, I did never thought we'd be here. That's what I tell most people. I never thought she'd have the following she would have. And it's the reason why social media has changed my life is the access people have to me now. That's the reason why it's changed my life. You know, it's the demand of social media. Uh, my emails in my inbox is they're absolutely crazy all day, every day. Always adding on new events, people wanting to collab with us, new shelters, new rescues, new businesses that want to, pit bull awareness, things like that. So I don't have a life. I don't have a personal life anymore. So that's how social media has changed my life.
Man, that's really cool. But I guess you enjoying it. You enjoying what it
Yes,
is.
yes, yeah, it's
That's
great.
very,
I,
that's really
I
cool.
tell people that, and there's a phrase. I'm glad it brought me to this point to where I be like, I love being around dogs, but I also love being around humans. I think that's the biggest thing. The gap is why we continue to hurt as a society, especially for these pit bulls, is that we always say, "Oh, I like dogs more than humans." That's crazy. I love them equally, and I want them both to understand that if we come from a place of love, change can happen for the dogs and the humans. And that's what this mission is about. That's why it's so important to me because it's not just about the dogs. I love dogs to death, but I want to show humans that we can also change. We can also change our stigma and our reputation of being terrible, terrible humans. So I think that's why it's so important to me.
That's a very nice way to put it. I was gonna ask, like, to finish the episode of. I was gonna ask if you had a message to tell the world, what would it be?
That would be it, man. It can't just be dogs. It has to be humans, and that's my biggest message and mission. The lead with love thing, I think people just thought, 'cause I put the paw print on the shirt, that it was just limited to dogs, but no, it's humans. It's everything and everybody, every situation, every different background, every like. I think that's what is important to me, is that we have to be able to break down these barriers and these stigmas and like come together and be like, because everybody's pointing fingers. And I think that's the issue. And the reason why I'm so transparent on my page, because I want people to realize I mess up too. Like there's sometimes I'm frustrated with Gigi and I have to call myself out. We have to be able to call ourselves out for growth. We have to be able to change for growth. We have to be able to have the tough conversations for growth. If we're doing all these bonding and training exercises with our dog, we have to be able to bond with each other. So I think that's my message.
That's a nice message for it.
Thank you.
Well, Aaron,